Hello everybody, it's your boy Proftrof and we're back again with another video by the Critical Drinker. I found this fairly interesting. Okay, so let me give a little background on my exploration of the Star Wars universe. I've played KOTOR 1 and 2. I love them. I've read a lot of comics of the older comics. I've read what was that, Bounty Hunters? I don't remember if it was Jango or Boba Fett's. I've seen all of his adventures. I think it was Boba. Boba was the son, right? I think I saw a decent amount of his adventures. I've read a lot of the comics. I love the Darth Vader comics. Like, I fucking love them. The one where Darth Vader is surrounded by the rebels and he goes like, they're like, okay, you surrender, now we have you surrounded. And he goes like, the only thing I'm surrounded by is dead people and fear. Oh, that was edgy as fuck, but I love it. So I love Darth Vader as a character. He's a very flawed but interesting character. A dude that lives in constant pain so he can harness that as a power to fuel his dark force power thing. It's cool as hell. I gotta be honest with you though, I hate the Skywalker movies and the Skywalker age. I find that the most boring age of Star Wars, and they keep focusing on that for movies for some insane reason. I don't know why. Clone Wars was pretty dope, but I don't count that in there. Anyway, that's my experience. So I have some experience. I've not seen the new Star Wars movies. I've seen the old 5 or 6, whatever they are, and I've not seen the new ones because they look like trash with the chick. I've not seen any of those.
Now, it may shock you to learn this, but it turns out...
My answer to the question is Anakin Skywalker or Mary Sue. Yes, as a kid, he was a big-ass Mary Sue. After that, I don't think he was. I think he had a lot of flaws. I think he made a lot of mistakes. I mean, he ended up with the bad ending. So how can he be a Mary Sue? Was he extremely strong? Yes. Was he a Mary Sue? No. He was in the first movie though, when he was a child. That was bullshit.
That Disney Star Wars is kind of a contentious topic. The fandom's been more or less divided between those who like the sequel trilogy and those who like good movies, but both groups spend a great deal of contentious topic. The fandom's been more or less divided between those who like the sequel trilogy and those who like good movies, but both groups spend a great deal of time slinging shit at each other over every form of social media known to man. And truly, no battleground is more fiercely
Did you just start a forest fire right here?
Contested than the protagonist of each trilogy. People who hate the Disney trilogy tend to criticize Rey for being an overpowered, flawless, perfect,
Hey, she's not flawless, she has no titties.
invincible, and unrelatable character for whom everything just kind of happens with no real struggle or difficulty. A Mary Sue, if you will. Meanwhile,
Alright, so I've not seen the new movies, but from what I've seen that pisses me off the most is that she doesn't have any training. So usually in the Star Wars universe, a Jedi starts their training when they're very little. Look at Anakin. Anakin was gifted by having whatever those things in his bodies were that give him a lot of force power, but he still needed to train to get as good as he was, and he was not the strongest during the Clone Wars. He got his ass whooped a couple of times. He got saved a decent amount of times. Even later on as Darth Vader, I remember there were some comics where at one point he attacked, like, after Order 66, he attacks like a gang of Jedis, and they kind of whoop his ass. Like, he kills them all, cause he gets like backup from the clones and stuff, but he gets his ass whooped a lot there, and he almost dies, which shows that he's extremely strong, but he's not omnipotent or whatever you call that, like overpowered. Well, he's overpoweringly strong, but I don't know how to explain it. But during his young adult age, even after he was trained as a Jedi for like a shit ton of years, he was not the strongest. Later on, when he becomes Darth Vader, he's not the strongest still. So, and this chick, from what I saw and what people are telling me, because I had a friend kind of describing the movies, it seems like she gets like no training, and after like a little bit like 10 days of training with a lightsaber, she's a beast. Like, how, bitch? How?
Supporters of the sequel trilogy are quick to leap to her defense, usually with one of two potential counter-arguments.
Damn, this chick's got some crazy neck muscles though.
1. You just hate strong women. 2. So what if she's OP as fuck? Anakin Skywalker from the prequels was a Mary Sue too, and you don't criticize him, you just hate strong women. This argument was brought into sharp focus for me the other day when I was perusing Twitter in search of calm, logical, rational discussion about the merits of the sequel trilogy, and I chanced
I think you're in the wrong place, buddy.
upon this little gem of a comment. Ah yes, that famous...
You all are not ready to have the conversation. Yes, because you need to get ready to have the conversation when you talk about a fictional character in a fictional story that has zero sense in the real world for us. You have to get yourself emotionally ready for that.
perfect protagonist who wins
Come on,
at everything, always makes the right decisions, has a selfless and compassionate personality, and is universally loved and respected by everyone.
Oof. Oof. To be honest, these were like one of the craziest shit he's done. This and when he went to kill his parents' killers. Oof.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
I love you.
Liar!
I killed them all.
Hey, I actually didn't blame him for this. I think the Jedis are bitches. I think the Sith are bitches as well. But like, I think being a Jedi is a bitch. Like, I hate the whole that they just say that the dark powers are evil. Like, they are, but when it's just like pure evil. I don't know. I like those green motherfuckers, the ones that use both forces. I like those people. I don't know what they're called.
Well, random Twitter moron, as it turns out, I am ready to have that conversation right now. So saddle up, y'all, because the drinker's here to round up this bullshit and put an end to this argument once and for all. Let us journey deep into the world of the Star Wars prequels and see if we can figure out whether Anakin Skywalker really is a Mary Sue. Now, in order to do this, we have to nail down what exactly a Mary Sue is. Well, according to the dictionary definition, it's a term used to describe a fictional character, usually female, who is seen as too perfect and almost boring for lack of flaws, originally written as an idealized version of an author in fan fiction. Now, the finer points of what makes a Mary Sue can vary depending on who you talk to, but after consulting multiple sources and drawing upon my own experiences as a writer, there's a few common traits that I think most people would generally agree on.
Okay, for me, what I hate the most when I see in movies and anything else, doesn't matter what it is, anime, anything like that, is when a character becomes strong overnight for zero reason. I hate that. I hate seeing that shit. Like, you get people that have been trained their whole life and they're like at this power level. We have someone that's like never trained, they're trash. One day later they're over here. I hate that shit. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it.
Mary Sues usually possess skills and abilities that are not consistent with their situation and personal history. They can do stuff they shouldn't realistically be able to, and they can do it better than anyone else. 2. They usually possess flawless, idealized personalities that no real person could measure up to. They never give in to negative emotions like anger, greed, jealousy, selfishness, into negative emotions like anger.
Is that Burn Victim? What is that thing?
Anger, greed, jealousy, selfishness, or arrogance.
Did she get dropped in lava as well with Anakin?
Personalities that no real person could measure up to. They never give in to negative emotions like anger.
Look at it.
Greed, jealousy, selfishness, or arrogance. 3. They're universally loved, respected, and embraced by every good character they encounter, even when there's no logical reason for this to happen. 4. They never get seriously challenged, fail at anything, or get beaten by anyone. Success and victory comes easily to them. And 5. They always make good decisions and strive to do what's right in any situation. So, why is this actually a problem? Well, I think the answer should be obvious. Mary Sues are boring as fuck. If a character's got no flaws or weaknesses and never really gets challenged or tested by anything, then what is there to get invested in? It's the flaws and failings of a character that make them interesting.
That's why I love my boy fucking Gus from Berserk. That's why I love him. He's only a human fighting greater things than him, but I love him.
in the first place, and their
It's all
struggle
about
to rise
human
above
standard,
and
but
overcome these flaws
fun.
that make them so compelling. If these things are missing from a character, then there's nothing for the audience to latch onto or care about. There's nothing to like or root for. That's the essence of a Mary Sue, and that's what we're going to be looking at here. So with that in mind, let's see how Anakin stacks up against this list, shall we? Point number 1, being overpowered and having abilities that he shouldn't. Now, this more than anything else is what
This little shit was overpowered. He was overpowered.
people tend to latch onto when they criticise Anakin, and who can blame them really? On the surface, it seems pretty ridiculous to see a 9-year-old boy doing stuff like this.
R2, get us off this autopilot. This. Whoa.
Whoa.
But let's put it into a wider context, shall we? When we first meet Anakin in The Phantom Menace, he's a slave living with his mother on Tatooine. He spent most of his life salvaging junk and using it to make new stuff that can marginally improve their quality of life. As a result, he's become pretty good with technology. Well, that makes sense, I guess. He's even applied these technical skills to pod racing, where he's been fairly successful despite suffering at least one major crash that we know about. Again, this kind of makes sense when you consider he's strong with the Force, which would likely give him heightened perception,
Very strong with
reactions,
the Force.
and understanding of the world around him. You know, qualities that are important to high-performance racing drivers. Anyway, his racing abilities allow the main characters to win an engine part that they need to repair their ship, as well as enough money to buy his freedom. Sensing his importance, Qui-Gon Jinn takes him under his wing and begins to teach him about the Force. Remember when older mentor characters were allowed to teach the protagonist things? I miss that. He also takes part in a space battle that destroys an enemy mothership at the climax of the movie. Now, as goofy as this scene is in its execution, it's not actually inconsistent with Anakin's abilities and experiences. If you've worked around technology, vehicles and ships your entire life, and you can pilot a racing pod to a high standard, then it stands to reason that you could probably operate other types of spacecraft as well, particularly if you have a droid on board to manage most of the ship's systems for you. However, for the sake of argument, let's concede that Anakin in The Phantom Menace is indeed more skilled, competent, and capable than your average person. So, what kind of effect would this have on a young man from an impoverished background, suddenly thrust into a much larger world of power, politics, and opportunity? Well, that brings me neatly along to point number 2. Mary Sues are supposed to have flawless personalities, never giving in to anger,
Yeah, my boy was a bit of a dick.
jealousy,
Anakin was a dick.
resentment, vengeance, or ambition. All throughout the second and third movies in the prequel trilogy, Anakin displays an increasingly severe set of personality
bitch.
flaws that begin to undermine his
bitch.
position in the world and his relationship with other characters. He's impetuous and hot-headed, frequently rushing into dangerous situations without waiting for backup or considering the risk to himself, particularly when someone he cares about is in danger. Keep that one in mind because it'll be important later. He's ambitious but also impatient, feeling like he's been unfairly held back by other characters, particularly Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this resentment causes a growing rift between the two men that eventually spills out into open conflict. Rather than
I have the high ground, Anakin.
taking the longer and harder path to wisdom
Artistic
and
screech and
understanding, Anakin wants everything right away. He also cares deeply about people close to him, and this attachment often manifests in explosive bouts of anger and jealousy when he feels that they're being threatened. Like when his mother gets kidnapped and killed by Tusken Raiders, causing Anakin to go on a violent rampage that escalates into wholesale slaughter.
Hey, those guys deserve it though. Fuck the Tusken Raiders. Fuck those guys. They should just slaughter their whole race. I remember, was it in the comics that they had like a place where he meets a Tusken Jedi, I think. And I think the guy saves him. That was like one of the best things I've read of Star Wars comics. That was such a good place. That's such a good thing. But they didn't have that in
Afterwards,
the movies, I
even
don't
he's
think.
shocked by what he did.
And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too.
It's okay, they were trash.
Or when
They
he
deserve
believes
it.
that Padme was
Fuck
turned
casinos.
against him by Obi-Wan Kenobi, causing him to lash out violently against both of them.
Choke
You
a
brought
bitch.
him here to kill me!
No!
Let her go, Anakin!
By this point, he's been totally consumed by uncontrolled jealousy, anger, resentment, and betrayal. All of the emotions that lead to the dark side of the Force.
And during the whole movies, he was being controlled by the Grinch. You know, a little lightning Grinch. Ho, ho, ho. So that's a pretty big flaw as well.
The
I
point
think.
here is clear. If you fuck with someone he cares about, then mercy and compassion go right out the window. All of his skills, abilities, and potential, which seemed so overpowered and unnecessary in the first movie, in fact serve a very important purpose for his character development. They've generated a sense of superiority, arrogance, and overconfidence, and a reluctance to listen to criticism or advice, no matter how well intentioned they might be. These are dangerous flaws in his personality all by themselves, but combined with his overwhelming emotional attachment to people he cares about, it creates a potent cocktail of reckless ambition and deep-seated insecurity that makes him uniquely vulnerable to manipulation, something which will later prove disastrous. Because, while Mary Sue's are universally loved, respected, and trusted by everyone, Anakin certainly isn't. In the first movie, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, and Yoda are all against training Anakin to become a Jedi, despite his obvious potential, because they know he's already too old to be inducted. This lack of early discipline in his life
Yeah, into the Jedi code. Oh, you should do nothing bad. Ooh. Fucking cultists.
would leave a dangerous gap in his personality, making him unpredictable and less able to control his emotions. Two factors which are extremely dangerous for Jedi. These misgivings would carry over to the next two movies, where Anakin is elevated to the Jedi High Council on Palpatine's orders, but the Council itself refuses to grant him the rank of Master because they feel he hasn't earned it yet.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
Now, a different man would see this as an opportunity to prove himself by working hard and earning their trust, eventually winning them over and gaining the recognition he deserves. But Anakin takes this as a personal insult from the Council, which drives a deeper wedge between him and a Jedi Order which he believes will never truly respect or accept him. Wow, it's almost like Palpatine knew this was going to happen and engineered the whole thing to pull Anakin closer to him, portraying himself as the only one who can help Anakin realize his full potential. It's a surprisingly smart piece of characterization that's completely consistent with everything we know about both men. The higher Anakin rises, the more it stokes the fire of his ambition and superiority, and the more he comes to see anyone who doubts or cautions him as a threat to his success. This arrogance and overconfidence also causes him to test himself against powerful opponents before he's actually ready for them. And unlike Mary Sue's, who easily win every battle they have to fight, Anakin's recklessness causes an escalating series of losses. Like here, where he tries to take on Count Dooku all by himself, and it ends with Anakin getting his fucking arm sliced off. But his desire for revenge against the man who defeated him ultimately causes a more powerful and better prepared Anakin to execute him in the following movie, again proving his willingness
God, Dooku's such a beast.
to give in
He
to
was such a
vengeance and
beast.
anger, even against helpless opponents. Or here, in his climactic confrontation with Obi-Wan, where his enemy has the advantage, but Anakin presses the attack
Say it.
anyway.
Say it.
And well, I think we know how that turns
Say
out.
it. Oh, you can't say the thing. You gotta say the... Anakin, I have the high ground.
Anyway, and well, I think we know how that turns out. Just as a side note, I love how this carries over to Return of the Jedi.
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
See, Luke's taking the high ground here, just like Obi-Wan did. What we have here is a clear pattern of behaviour from a man whose ambitions consistently outstrip his abilities. Rather than demonstrating patience and restraint and taking the slower and harder path to lasting wisdom and fulfillment, Anakin's inherent character flaws cause him to push himself beyond breaking point with increasingly disastrous consequences. Which brings me neatly along to the final points. Whereas Mary Sue's consistently make good, righteous decisions and always strive to do the correct thing, Anakin on the other hand demonstrates a consistent pattern of mistakes and misjudgments that ultimately cost him everything. As I've already shown you, the flaws in his personality are exacerbated by his powers and abilities, making him easy prey for a ruthlessly ambitious man that knows exactly how to flatter his ambitions and prey on his weaknesses. This eventually causes him to commit terrible crimes like murdering an entire tribe, including
No crimes done here, okay? No crimes here.
unarmed civilians, murdering children,
That's a pretty
executing
big
a
one.
helpless opponent,
That
helping
guy
to
was
kill a
trash, he
Jedi
deserves.
Master, trying to murder his own wife. Tribe, including unarmed civilians, murdering children, executing a helpless opponent,
Deserve it.
helping to kill a Jedi Master,
That Jedi Master was being an asshole to him. He deserves.
trying
Or
to
doesn't-
murder
he
his own
doesn't.
wife, trying to kill his mentor and best friend, joining
okay.
forces with an evil dictator to overthrow the Republic,
Okay, it's looking pretty
delivering this scene.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating.
What I'm trying to say with all this pish is that Anakin Skywalker is the very furthest thing from a Mary Sue that you can get. Trying to label him as a Mary Sue for no other reason than because he's good at lots of stuff demonstrates a complete misunderstanding of what a Mary Sue is and also of who Anakin is. The reality is that he's a powerful but deeply flawed man whose unique combination of circumstances and abilities have created a dangerous personality that's vulnerable to manipulation and corruption. His greatest strengths ultimately prove to be his most terrible weaknesses, with consequences that echo across the entire galaxy. Now, I have my own thoughts on the prequel trilogy as a whole, and I'd be lying if I said they were great movies, but fundamentally, I think the story they tell is actually pretty fucking good. And I'm just gonna say it, Anakin's rise to power and fall to the dark side is a damn good piece of character work
is.
that Disney would have done well to pay more attention to. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Okay. The drinker fixes Rey. Ooh, that might be interesting. Anyway, let me know what y'all think about this. What do you guys think about Anakin? About Darth Vader? The Darth of the Vader of the Dark. What do you guys think about him? Let me know in the comments, please. I love him as a character. I love him. He's fucked up, but he's a very nice character. Anyway, quick thank you to the patrons. Pedro Martinez, Commanders, Unit, Robert, Princess, Waster, Fuel, Chicken, Tetris, Senior, Hilter, Lemon, and Monak, Madash, and Ronick. Thank you all for the support. And I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And I'll see you next time, everybody. Have a nice day.